Oh, we're back. Last time, I tried to say some things, then cut them out, and I didn't cut them out. So this time, we're just going to leave it all in there. Tits out, balls out.
I swear to God, this will not be on the podcast.
This will not be on the podcast. We will delete it. You can say whatever you want. Don't worry, guys. There's funny. No judgment here. But don't talk about politics. God damn it, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Talk about Dr. Oz.
I don't know, man. That's why I was quiet the whole time.
I know, dude. I did intend to delete it. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, mom and dad, 3 of your sons were on the same podcast. Let me show you. So I hit play.
Oh,
and
yeah.
as soon as I hit play, I hear myself saying, this won't be on the podcast. And I just start sweating in front of them. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. And I'm like, this is just me talking about Dr. Oz. And they're like, do you like Dr. Oz? I'm like, fuck no, I don't like Dr. Oz.
Dude, it's great because I was like messaged by like 4 people about it. They all liked it.
Well, I'm hoping John Fetterman's okay. He's got a hot wife, so I hope that he gets elected. There, I said it. Everybody can go suck my dick now. Let's move to some basketball.
Fuck yeah, dude. What about that game last night? That just makes my heart happy, man. I don't even know what to say except when we beat the Clippers twice in a row and, you know, we get to see Trey Mann, who should have been a Clippers pick if he was available, and we get to see Shea, who was a Clippers player, just completely dominate the field. Man, it was beautiful. I wish J-Dub was out there to create the trifecta of the drafts that picks that we've gotten from them over the last 3 years, plus Shea, or 2 years plus Shea. But fuck, man, the way we just fucking dominated that game and played defense, and this was what is considered the best defensive team in the league, at least the top 3 defensive team in the league, and we scored 118 points on them without some of our main players. It's unbelievable, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I love the contrast between the 2 wins, right? The first game against the Clippers, we're out there, and we have an unbelievable third quarter, by far the best quarter we played all season, and blow them out in the third quarter, and then we hang on to the win. Yeah, it's double digits, but it was always feeling tight because we don't know about this team's ability to, you know, maintain a lead. This game was completely different. We saw the team get up early, lose the lead, going into halftime with the Clippers picking up the pressure, saying, hey, we're the big brothers here. We're a team full of vets. We're going to take the ball away from you. And they did it against our starters, and it worked. And it was really difficult. It was, okay, are they going to do this whole game? But third quarter, we fought back. And by the fourth quarter, we landed a haymaker that they weren't getting up from. And the best part was we're sitting out there, and we don't look like we're ready to be done fighting. Like, we're up by 12. There's like 2.5 minutes left, right? And we're still going out there competing at a high level, and they put in their bench, and we don't care. We don't let up at all because we know we're going to play for 48 minutes, not 47.5 minutes. We're going to play for 48 minutes. We don't give a fuck what the score is.
Yeah, and it was just something to me that I watched last night, and we weren't getting calls. Let's just put that out there. We did not get a call at all or a free throw at all in the first 3 quarters. It was insane. I have yet to see a game where you don't get free throws in 3 quarters. And I look at this, and we shot 8 free throws last night. 8. That's just despicable. There was at least 4 times that we were driving to the hole that we got fouled hard, and they didn't call it. And it's like, I don't know what else to say, but when you look at these stats and you're saying, okay, we won a game with only shooting 8 free throws, hitting 7 of them, how else did we win this game? Well, we took care of the ball. We only had 11 turnovers. We had 4 blocks, 10 steals, right? We had 27 assists last night. We're passing the ball at a crazy level, at a crazy rate. It was just a lot of fun. We had 13 offensive rebounds as well last night. This was a team effort, man. We shot 44.7% from three-pointers, 17 for 38, man. I just felt like this was a huge game comparatively, where we only hit 4 three-pointers in the last game. So this was a great step-up game. We took what they gave us, man, and that was what was so great about it. Is those 17 three-pointers, I don't think any of them we were guarded very closely. Most of them were just wide-open threes, and it was just great to see.
Bro, it was awesome. It was everything you want, and we saw big shots from so many people, but the guy that you got to just, like, put your arm around and say, like, way to fucking go is Poku. Because those shots took guts. There's a game I was playing in high school, right? And I shouldn't have taken a shot, and I knocked it down, right? It was a 3. It was in a big game, and I heard that the bench yelled, "No!" right when I launched a shot from people who were there, right? And it went in, so whatever, they can fuck themselves, right? But I feel like the whole arena, when Poku took that step back 3, was like, "No!" or "Oh, fuck."
Yeah.
And it went in, and then it was like, he didn't act like he was surprised, right? The team didn't act surprised. And he came back down and knocked down another one. Like 2 threes in the fourth quarter for someone who really has had trouble knocking down his 3 with any level of consistency. And then on top of that, he gets out there and he gets a big block on Zubac at the basket.
Oh, it's huge.
I'm like, this is what we've always been talking about. Like, look, he's not going to go out there and put up 18 a game, this year. It's not going to be anything wild. Like, we got to be patient with it. But we've always said, if he can knock down open shots and defend the basket, right, he's going to earn playing time, and then you'll start seeing what makes him special, right? Like, he has to do the same thing that every NBA player has to do, right? If you do that bare minimum, then all of a sudden you start seeing, wow, he's a great passer. He's a very good driver. He can finish over people. He's got other skills, but first he's got to prove it there. And we saw him take the first really big step of his career, I think.
I agree. And the 4 offensive rebounds all around was just a spectacular game for Poku. Yeah. To me, I see this and I look at him. He handles the ball, like we said, he protects the rim. I've been pretty blunt about saying that I think Poku could be a top 5, top 10 shot blocker in the league. And it's because of his long arms. It's because of the way he moves and understands the game. And you put Chet in there next to him, and anybody's going to have trouble scoring. So I look at Poku as the way he played last night was truly spectacular. Really, really great to see. But for me, the person I needed to see have a breakout game was Dort. Dort had 21 points last night, plus 18 in the plus minus, which is always great to see because we talked about his negative 39 the other night. In the plus minus. He had 2 steals, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, one of which was offensive, 2 for 2 on free throws, 1 for 5 on 3-pointers, and 9 for 15 on field goals. He just drove to the hole really fucking hard all night. His defense was amazing, man. So many times I felt like he got a deflection or stopped the fast break or stopped the drive to the hole, and it was just Dort was always there. He had a tough assignment. They had him on Paul George most of the night. And I cannot say enough of how he just locked down Paul George. It was a really, really great job on both ends of the court by Dort.
Yeah. Dort has moments where you're like, well, like if he starts knocking down that shot in rhythm, watch out. And then he starts hitting that shot in rhythm, and you're like, well, if he can string it together with a defensive effort at the same time, then watch out. And then you're like, oh, shit. He just put up a 21-point game and took the toughest defensive assignment. And at the same time, we're seeing these other guys step up into new roles. Aaron Wiggins in the starting lineup and JRE both went out there and did a lot for us. When you look at the starters, Dort 1 for 5 from 3, Wiggins 3 for 6 from 3, JRE 1 for 2, Trey Mann 4 for 7, Shea 2 for 4. All right. That says enough, right? If those 5 guys are out there hitting shots, then you know they have to stretch the defense. And everybody who played was shooting threes, except for Isaiah Joe, who only played a minute. But, everybody else was not like just shooting them, and only 2 people didn't knock them down. Jang went 0 for 2, and Moose went 0 for 1. Like, I'm not worried about that. So, especially after last game, I think we hit 4 threes in the game last time, and we won. This time we come out, and we still shoot the ball with confidence. We get on the right run at the right time, and then you look back, and you're like, wow, we're learning to close games right in front of us. This is what we want to see. Mm-hmm. This is what we are dying to watch, is this team go from being a young team to a veteran team. And it's not going to happen overnight, we say, but then we look at it and we're like, shit, it might have just happened overnight.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important that we watch every game and we break down every game for the last 3 years, is because you can start seeing the progression that's happened with this team. Last night, we started the first the same starters as we did the night before or 2 nights before. JRE, Dort, SGA, Trey Mann, and Aaron Wiggins. These guys stepped up in a big way. I like it when he leans towards starting non-freshmen, right? Yeah. So it's always great. But, man, the way that these guys played, and especially on defense, I think that's the most important thing that we have to see, because in the fourth quarter, we at 2 minutes and 55 seconds, we were at 104 to 116. We only scored 2 more points, but we didn't score for the last minute and 55 seconds. And I think it's the only way we were able to get away with that is because of our defense, man. Our defense was so locked down that they were having trouble scoring. We pulled that lead out to 12, and at that point, we were able to just sit back with the ball and recognizing that if we made them waste 16 seconds on the shot clock, then they're not going to get any place close to us if we just sit on the ball the whole time.
All right. Sorry about that.
You're good, man.
Blew a goddamn fuse.
Happens to the best of us, man.
Lost my internet, so I don't know exactly what you were saying right before because my screen froze. So let's jump back in. What were we talking about, bro?
Yeah. So I'm not too sure, but I think we were talking about the lineup and we were talking about the way these guys were doing things. But you had this pulled up, and I was about to get into that way that Shea drove tonight, and it's really kind of indicative to what he's going to do right here. So as you push play, Shea's going to show you what he's going to do all game tonight, and it's really just a spectacular night of him understanding exactly what was expected out of him. Without scoring 30 points, he did some amazing things tonight.
Right, I'm going to hit play like Dave said. If you're listening, you can jump onto the video podcast or the YouTube version. If not, we'll do our best to explain what you're seeing, but we're going to watch all of the offensive highlights, actually all of the made baskets the team made from the second game against the Clippers here. So stick with us. But yeah, man, we saw Shea as a magician. There you go.
The only way Shea does this is by JRE. That pick, right. JRE gives him.
Right. And our ability to move without the ball, that was really critical. Like, we kept cutting, and it was incredible to watch the defensive effort, but just the way that the team came out, they were locked in. The Clippers knew what they were going to get from us, and we still exceeded their expectations as far as what they needed to put out. It was great, man. We played great.
At times, I felt like I was watching a porn last night, watching this game, and the reason is because we kept on just jamming it down the throat. Like, any hole that we saw open, it was like we're just going straight for it, man, and we weren't stopping until we finished.
Right.
Shit.
and Trey with that long ball, Shea with the big ball. Oh man, Wiggins, you gotta love it, dude. We saw role players be stars in their roles. We saw stars be stars, and we saw guys that are young and trying to find their way really, get some rhythm. Baisley getting a couple of blocks behind the perimeter, keeping that streak alive. I mean, this guy has got it going right now. Baisley has been fighting really hard, and so for that reason,
dude, I want to give a huge shout out to Baisley because I feel like Baisley's gotten a horrible rap recently just because everybody expects him to score 17, 18 points a game. Nobody really understands that that's not his game. I mean, nobody. I shouldn't say nobody, because if you're listening to us, you understand it because we've been telling you guys for a while now. Baisley's not going to go out there and put up 15, 16 points a game. If he gets 20 minutes a game, he's going to play lockdown defense. He's going to get block shots. He's going to get offensive rebounds. He's going to get defensive rebounds. He's going to get steals, right? So let's just go through it, man. 9 points for Baisley, 3 blocks, 1 assist, 9 rebounds, 3 offensive, 1 for 2 on 3-pointers, and 4 for 9 on field goals. That is an effective game for Baisley. Those are the numbers that I want to see from Baisley, throughout the season. If he can do this, man, this is huge because we need a guy that's willing to do whatever it takes in this situation, and Baisley's one of those guys.
Yeah, he is. That's what he does for the team. He gets after it, man, and he was able to knock down a 3 early, which was really important. I felt like it built his confidence. We saw some big minutes from Kenny Hustle, knocking down shots.
So big, man.
Just playing the right way. Yeah. I think one of the biggest plays he had was off of an air ball. We were needing a bucket, and he was right there at the right time. Just finished right under the basket. It was awesome, man. We see Baisley, Kenny Hustle as a real key part of this future because of the role he plays. We just don't have anybody else who does that right now.
No, we don't. And I look at this game and the way the flow went and stuff like that, there was a lot of guys that made big plays. Trey Mann's 3 with 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and the crowd went nuts, man. That was huge. Shea's steal, and he got open to start our whole engine going in that fourth quarter to go on that like 7-0 run. Listen, there were so many big plays last night. But Poku's play, man, the way they hit those threes, the way that these guys were able to get around Poku, the way that Kenny Hustle got those steals, the way that Mike Muscala led the team in free throw attempts and free throws hit. He had 4 free throw attempts, which is half of them, and he hit 3 of them. So, like, looking at what these guys did, and Mike Muscala, he didn't play a lot of minutes. He only played 12. But that's not what he needed to play tonight. You know, we saw big minutes from all the rest of the guys, from JRE putting 15 minutes tonight. Baisley was playing amazing. He earned himself some minutes tonight, you know? And he was supposed to play at the 5 some of the night tonight too. So, I don't know, man. I look at this whole team and how it's structured, and we don't need to lean on one player every single night and expect him to do these crazy, amazing things every single night. We need our role players to step up in the way they step up, and when coach sees who's playing well, that role player is going to be leaned on for that night. The other night, it was Mike Muscala. Tonight, it was Baisley. And it was just great to see how these guys were able to be leaned on. Kenny Williams the same way. You know, we really rely on these guys to have good games, and it's just really neat to see how these guys are playing right now.
Yeah, and as you watch the highlights, you just notice, like, we were always getting downhill, and that's when we're best as a team. But getting to the basket, kicking the ball out, rotating the ball, finding the open man, and if you can have a possession where you have 2 guys getting to the basket in the same possession, then you've really ended up in a spot where the defense is scrambling, and you're going to end up with all sorts of cross matchups. If you know what you're looking for in those spots, then you can exploit it. And we looked like a team that was very deliberate on offense. We felt like we knew what we were looking to get. And even when they weren't falling, we were still shooting good shots. And for a young team, you know, that's unusual, but it's incredibly important, because then you can say, keep doing what you're doing and it will work out. Whereas it's like, go out there and stop doing what you're doing is one of the hardest things to do, right? Go fix it. So we know high quality shots are what is the solution to this. Getting to the basket will create those, as long as we are quick to get the ball out of the paint, around the perimeter, and into the guy's hands who has the matchup we want. We saw it all game. And I think it's one of the advantages of playing a team like the Clippers twice in a row. Like, we can really dig into what that means for our offense. And now we got to come back and we got to play good against, you know, a team that's not the Clippers. That's the key.
Now, I want to put this out as we're watching these plays go down, right, guys? Watch our offensive guys, whoever's about to take a shot, watch how these guys that aren't taking shots are positioning themselves to be able to run up and get an offensive rebound, okay?
Right.
Baisley was right there, right? Kenny Hustle's really good at it. But see how everybody has one step ready to run into the lane for the offensive board? Whether or not we hit it or not, that's what there are. Like, this is something that I've always been able to teach it to the kids that I've coached and stuff like that, is the offensive rebound. But not every team is really good at offensive rebounds. And you see a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder that get it, because every possession they're going all out max. And I think about something I saw on ESPN the other day. It was Ben Mathurin.
Yeah, Mathurin, Ben Mathurin.
Mathurin, thank you. Ben Mathurin, right? At the end of the game, they were down like 12, 14 points or whatever, and whoever they're playing, it doesn't matter who they're playing. Basically, they got lazy with the ball, and Ben ran and stole the ball and went for a layup. And at the free throw line, they're like, "What the fuck, man? Like, the game was over." And he's like, "The game's not over. There's still time on the clock. I'm going to play until the very last horn."
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, that's the mentality that we see with this team. It's not just one player. It's the entire team, the entire organization. You know, like, you get an opportunity to go out there, all you're going to do is go out there and hustle, balls to the wall, do whatever it takes to be able to stay out there longer. And no minutes are guaranteed, because you can look at JRE, and JRE played what I would consider a great game, but he only played 15 minutes. Wiggins led the team in minutes last night, 35 minutes. That was not because he was scoring a lot or anything else like that. It's because he was balls to the wall hustle, man. And that's the greatest thing about it.
Absolutely. That's why we love Wiggins. That's why we love the way this team is being built. There's a combination of like players who can do anything. And well, I mean, everybody can pretty much do anything, but they can go out there and put up 25, 30 points if we need. But then we have the guys that we always say are stars in their role. And that, to me, is what gets me excited, is watching this combination. Like, we always look at teams.
The steal
like,
right there.
Yeah, that big-time steal should have been an and one by Shea on the other end after he just swiped it, man. Got all the way to the basket. But we watched this game, dude, and we were watching this team, and we're like, how much more could you ask for, right? Like, when we had the three of the best players in the league, like 3 stars, and we made it to the finals, I always was wondering, like, what it would look like if we had veterans that understood their role. Because, we had some, but we weren't, like, chock full of them. Now we have a bunch of young guys that look like veterans who understand their roles. And we have the star quality with everything else. It's just like, I can't really compare it to anything I've seen before. I really can't. And, bro, we're not even mentioning that, like Giddey's been out for 2 games now. Like,
J-Dub for a few games. I mean,
J-Dub since the game 1.
These are huge assets. Chet, these are the staples to our team, and that's when I say, like, oh well, we're missing all these players, and it's like, yeah, and if we had all these players playing, like, would we be one of the undefeated teams? Probably, because it doesn't matter if these guys are young. It's how we're seeing everybody play on this team all together as a team, as a cohesive unit, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing that Sam Presti said that he was most upset about when Chet got injured, was that cohesiveness didn't start this year. Yeah, they're all together, they're around each other, but they're not playing in games together. Now it has to stall for 1 more year. And, man, watching these guys work together is getting me so pumped and so excited about this next year. Like, when I say this next year, I'm talking January, February, March, April basketball, guys. This is going to be fun to watch, like, as we're getting everybody healthy, as we're getting to full strength, as we're finding out if Chet is going to come back or if he's going to continue to stay out for the season. Listen, when it all starts coming back and understanding, we're going to be able to sit down and have a true conversation of where this team is at. Everybody's saying...
Bro, let's back up.
All right, go ahead.
What the fuck do you mean? You're like, are you trying to, like, start something here, bro, with, like, Chet coming back? Like, do you think that maybe it's not settled?
Do you know how when Sam Presti asked for that player exemption?
Yeah.
For Chet?
Yeah.
Why was that withdrawn?
Was it withdrawn?
We didn't get it. We don't have it.
We don't have it?
No.
You sure?
Like 99% sure. When I was looking at all, like, well, I was trying to do some trade scenarios with the Los Angeles Lakers and trying to figure out all this stuff, and I was just pulled up the Oklahoma City Thunder. We don't have that extra piece there. There's no thing. And it got me wondering, why was, I assume it was either withdrawn or denied. Obviously, there's 2 course of actions, right? Why was it withdrawn or
Somebody
denied?
Check us. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us that it has been approved. But in the absence of somebody telling us we're wrong, let's speculate wildly. That's what we love to do here. So here's my question. If you're in Chet's situation, would you rather have a rookie year where you have a chance to win Rookie of the Year, like you have a full Rookie of the Year, or would you rather just get out there and just get some buckets, get out there and get some run?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you're Chet sitting on the sidelines and you're saying, if I'm out in the game, we're a playoff team, does it really fucking matter what he does his rookie year?
Well, I mean, I guess that's up for us to prove, right? The team's got to get out there. Go ahead.
Listen, if Chet comes back, let's just say best case scenario, right? From the time that he had surgery to the time that he can play, let's just say 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure, being that he's a young player, could come back sooner, okay? But let's just say 6 months, right? That puts us in March. Maybe, no. That puts us in February, mid-February. So, you know what I'm saying?
The question is, where is the team? And if the team is in a position
That's right. And if
to make a push, and we're not like going to pack it in because that doesn't,
Dude, put him out there for 10,
sense.
15 minutes a game. Do what
Bro,
Embiid did.
We're getting carried away. We got 2 wins, and we're sitting here talking about this us playing games that matter in February. It's October. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. I want to wait until January, February to be able to make a prediction on what's going to happen because we don't know who's going to be injured. We don't know who's coming back from injury. We don't know anything. And
Bro,
that's why it's
good.
always like
we look good. We look
so
deep.
good.
We look deep, man.
No, we're not just deep, but our defense is cohesive defense, man. Like, we're one unit on defense. And, like, the Clippers announcers at one point, they're like, well, the Clippers are blah, 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 best defensive team. But, man, this Oklahoma City team makes everything difficult. And we do. Everything's difficult. And I know they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. I get that. I know that Paul George wasn't 100%. I understand. But it doesn't really fucking matter when this team is playing like this.
No, because the Clippers have been successful without their stars. Not like, oh, they're going to the playoffs or anything, but they've been able to find like guys like Covington and Kennard and Zubac, like good players that can keep the team afloat if the stars are coming back. Last year we saw the stars didn't come back and they didn't get it done. But, you know, some teams have players that can play really well for like 15 games a season, you know? And
Sure.
I think the Clippers have guys like Terrence Mann who can put up big numbers, but once he's the number 1 guy on the scouting report, it's not as easy for him anymore. Like, he needs Kawhi and Paul George. He needs to be, you know, free up from, the third defender or whatever it goes down. So with that said, I would say, like, yeah, we can easily say, well, this team didn't play against a team that was full strength. But we can also say, generally speaking, most teams we play aren't going to be full strength. And most of the time, we're not going to be full strength like we weren't. So with all that into consideration, what we have to say is, what can we tell from this team that we saw out there playing? And what I notice is, well, we talked about 3 guys that should be in our top 10, 12 rotation, you know, easily. Giddey, J-Dub, and Chet.
Yep.
Could be starters, right? But we still went 10 deep, right? We still played 10 deep, and we found contributions from every single player on the court. Jang, we didn't mention him, but I think it was his first bucket tonight, right? He gets downhill on a fast break.
He had 5 points the other night.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, mind fart there. But he got downhill, got on transition, and was able to hit a bucket there. He also had a great no-look pass as an assist. And that type of stuff is really exceptional because at this stage, what our expectations for Jang were coming into the season at this early stage have already kind of been surpassed because he's comfortable with the ball. He can move the ball in transition. He's a good passer, and he doesn't get frazzled. He'll hit a shot. He'll hit his 3-point shot. He's shooting it with confidence, and he's really coming a long way. It looks a lot less stiff than it did before. So already we're coming to really expect quite a bit from Usman, and just not like a high expectation thing. Just like we know when he gets out there, he's not going to trip over himself. He's not going to have a ton of turnovers. He's going to do the right thing with the ball most of the time, and that's impressive.
Man, you know what one of my biggest beef is with ESPN and Barstools and some of those other douchebag podcast companies and sports companies?
I got a lot too. What's yours?
One of my biggest beef with them is every single time that we would hear a player coming over from the NBL, you always hear how much work they're going to need in order to be NBA ready.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off because when Josh came out over, everybody was like, oh yeah, he needs a couple more years. And Josh came out pretty much sprinting at like 25, 28 minutes a game right off the bat, you know? Mm-hmm. And then we're talking about Dyson Daniels. Boom. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Dyson Daniels, he'll be good in a couple years. He needs time. You know, like, what is he doing? He's dominating for the Pelicans right now. And then you're looking over here at Osman Jang, and everybody's like, oh yeah, he needs a couple years. Us included, you know? Mm-hmm. He needs a couple more years to develop. And he's coming out and he's playing big minutes. Yes, they're not the stats that we necessarily want to see, but it's the improvement that we love to see that he's doing. Like, he is an incredibly special player, and you can tell by the way he flows on the court, the way he moves, the way he makes decisions, his understanding of where people are going to be. That's why Osman Jang is somebody that you have to get excited about. And that's why, again, I have a beef with all these other companies, these sports companies, because they don't understand how good NBL players are coming over and when they're ready. And it's just crazy, man. Like we saw the ball, what is it, the youngest ball kid?
Yeah.
Like disrespect because you haven't played in the NBL for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. LaMelo, thank you. Whatever. But LaMelo, right? He goes over there and he plays, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, whatever. He's not going to be a top pick. I mean, let's just be honest. He should have been the top pick.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because of the disrespect. And that's why we have consistently said in the support and love for the NBL, for the Australian Basketball League, and also New Zealand as well in there. It's amazing how they are getting these guys, these young men, ready to play in the NBA. And it's inspiring because it's not like this growth is happening anywhere else on the planet. It's the NBL that's creating these players.
So if we had been full strength, how would it shake down as far as minutes? I mean, you got to think that this team is going to be prepared to play 12 players a night, which is unusual in the NBA.
We're 15 players a night.
I mean, that just hurts my head.
Listen, Coach D is a master at the rotation, okay? Whoever he has in charge of helping out his rotation, they do an amazing job, okay? Like, I love the way that these guys figure out which players are going to play and the timelines they're going to play, because the reality is that Mike Muscala, 12 minutes tonight, but 22 minutes the other night, right? What makes them make these decisions? Well, it's all about your first few minutes that you have in the game. And these guys, that means that if you're having got somebody out there like, Mike Muscala, that, let's give him a little bit of a rest. Keep his legs fresh, whatever. Then you got Kenny Hustle, 26 minutes, right? Poku, 26 minutes. Baisley, 22 minutes. Like, those minutes aren't necessarily going to be all there in the 20s. Like, I look at it like this, is that you're going to have a 3-tier team. You're going to have your 30-minute guys, right? You're going to have your 20-minute guys, and then you're going to have your team-minute guys. And then you're going to have the other guys like Isaiah Joe that's going to get in for a few minutes here and there, right? They're the fillers. That's why I look at this team as being a 15-player team, is because who else are you going to do? You're going to pull out JRE, Dort, Shea, Mann, Wiggins. If everybody was healthy, right, you throw Chet, Giddey, J-Dub, Baisley, Poku, Jang, Williams, Muscala, Isaiah Joe, Lindy Waters, Jalen Williams. Who are you going to sit out, man? Who are you going to stunt their growth with?
Well, I think essentially, if we're going to just make an argument for sticking to a 10-man rotation, which is pretty much like league standard, you got to figure at any given time we could have 3 players that aren't playing. We didn't see like a player like Amarui out there, like Waters and Jay Will didn't get any minutes in this game. So, theoretically, yeah, you could have 15 players who are in the rotation, right? But only play 10 in a given night because 3 of them you figure aren't going to be full strength and 2 of them two-way players or whatnot. But in the end, like, you're going to end up with a team where the two-way players are really deserving of more playing time. And then you've got 13 on your primary team that's like, wow, these guys are really clicking. So, yeah, I mean, you end up with 15. The question is this.
But this is why the G League is so important.
Right.
Like, this is why the two-way players and having that system there in place, because these guys are going to earn minutes through that in the future.
Right. And that, I mean, it's all about understanding how the minutes are going to be divvied out. And that's what we're talking about. And if, like, a lot of teams will be like, okay, we got to trade this guy because, we got to give another player an opportunity. He's young. We got to give him a chance. If you can balance it, though, right, where everybody gets playing time and you're developing players that are the 12th and 13th man on your roster because they're actually getting minutes and they're, playing hard and stuff. Like, I just feel like it changes how we perceive the league. Like, There's been these, I'd say, what we consider kind of like the rules, the unspoken rules of like how roster building goes. And we're watching them kind of being torn down. And then we're left to kind of be like, were those really the rules? Were those just like boundaries that we all kind of anticipated, which was you have to have a bad player at the end of your bench. a couple of them that aren't going to play, guys that just get paid to be there. Is that really a part of what's needed, or is that just how we become accustomed to it? And then say that's where Coach D is so critical. His commitment to developing the end of the bench, just like the front of the bench, the starters. Well, now we're in business, man.
Yeah, and you look at the teams that we've had in the past, right? I mean, think about this. The teams that we've had with Russ and KD and all these other guys that we've had through the years, they've always had guys that have not left the bench in a playoff series, and guys that have not left the bench in regular season games. I think of Kyler Singler. I think of some other guys out there that just didn't fit the mold that we needed, and they just didn't get off our bench. And guess what? That's cool. But that's old school. That's what you pay guys for a body or a particular team that you're going to play. That's what that person's there for. There's no more of that. Like this team, that's why I say it's 15 deep. Yeah, you're probably right. They'll probably keep a nice tight rotation. But even if you do your starters 30 to 35 minutes, right? You've seen that Coach D doesn't really go through that. There's only 3 guys that play 35 or 34 minutes or more. You had Dort, SGA, and Wiggins. Everybody else played 22 or less, or 26 or less. You know, like, that's what we're going to see. You know, we'll see 3 guys, and we've seen, you know, NBA guys talk about it before. You got 1 or 2 or 3 stars, and everybody else is a role player, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see 3 or 4 guys get the majority of those minutes. You'll see them hit the 30s, you know, when Giddey gets back and Chet gets back. You'll have 4 guys right there that will get your majority of your minutes. But still, with the majority of their minutes, I mean, there's going to be so many minutes left between that other spot and all the minutes that they're missing because it's a 48-minute game. If they're only getting 30 minutes, that means there's 18 minutes a player left on that. So, I mean, like, that's what I keep on looking at is, like, how is, you know, Coach D obviously is a genius. And how is he breaking this up? How is he understanding which player gets where and how many minutes they get? Because, I mean, that's what's most impressive is that this team is 100% being used. There's no players not being used on this team. And as much as we want to talk about all the Swiss Army knives that we have on this team as the players that are Swiss Army knives, let's just be honest with it. Coach D is the real Swiss Army knife. Like the way that he's able to break shit down, the way he's able to sub guys in, the way our defense plays, he's the Swiss Army knife. Everybody else is molding to what Coach D, who he is and what he is.
Absolutely, man. And you got to love it. You got to love it. He's a big part of, you know, the timing of him being brought on staff coinciding with this team being rebuilt is pretty fun, and getting to know what he's capable of, you know, because let's face it, they've been outmatched a lot of games. So we're still going to be outmatched, but we're going to keep competing at a high level. I'm going to jump away from the Thunder I'm going to let you got anything else to say before we move to the next subject, or what do you got, man?
Oh, man. There was one more thing I had on my notes. Let me look at my notes real quickly. No, man, I'm good. I covered everything.
All right. So we got the Mavericks coming up on Saturday night, tomorrow night.
Oh, fuck yeah.
9. So, well,
fuck yes.
9 for me, East Coast time. All right. Looking forward to that one. But let's talk about some shit. So we've got shit to talk about. We got more shit to talk about. 3 main things I'm thinking about, bro. First of all, the bad news. Looks like Eric Bledsoe has gotten in trouble, bro.
Yeah.
Domestic violence arrest for allegedly slapping his girlfriend. I don't really have anything else other than say, like, obviously this is something that's fucked up. You hate seeing this story. For sure, man. What you got on that? Anything?
Yeah, don't fucking slap your girlfriends or your wives or your significant others. Period.
Thank you.
I don't know what to say, man.
Covered it, bro.
I'll throw it back to you.
All right, so we got 2 more things. We got a mystery box, or we got Kyrie essentially bitch slapping Ben Simmons. Bro, which one do you want to talk about?
What about I got one here for you. It's hot take. It just dropped. Adam Schefter says Tom Brady announced that he and Giselle are divorced.
Oh, shit. Tom and Giselle are over.
And it says, in recent days, this is from Tom Brady. In recent days, my wife and I finalized our divorce from one another after 13 years of marriage. We arrived to this decision, blah, 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 the gratitude of the time, dick sucking, blah, 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 I love her, blah, 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 blah. Basically, Tom Brady just saying that he left his wife and they divorced.
He
Football
left his
is more
wife
important.
so he could go play with balls with his boyfriends.
Does this being over help him out now, or is it going to make him worse? Knowing that Antonio Brown is hollering at her.
It's to be determined. I think, yeah. Obviously, if he's not gonna quit playing football for Giselle, it's probably there's nothing that's gonna stop him at this point. He looks like he seems like a man who's now unencumbered, which whatever, good for him, I guess.
Yeah, I
don't know, man. I think it'd have to argue that maybe like not that she herself was a distraction, but maybe the whole marriage ending was a distraction. Maybe he'll be better, or maybe he won't be any good at all. Maybe she was the reason he was good. Maybe she's the reason, bro.
Yeah, man. I don't know,
Fountain
man.
of youth.
I don't know. I look at this, man, and I see a player that is happy still playing football. You know, like sometimes there's guys that are so obsessed with something, or they like crack so much or cocaine so much that they just can't stop. You know, no matter how they try to slice it, you just can't.
Yeah.
And you know, I look at the NBA in a whole, right? And I see how the Lakers are dysfunctional, right? And you can see how in a relationship, if there's dysfunction, it mirrors what happens on the court, on the floor, whatever, on the field for Tom Brady there. So yeah, I do think that Tom Brady is going to be able to step up in the next few weeks and maybe month or whatever and play some amazing football. But man, go back to those Lakers for a second, man. I get a little antsy when I start talking about them, is because you have all these Laker fans that are convinced, right, Mark? They are convinced that all you have to do is trade Russell and you're going to be okay. And that's where it's funny, because if you look at LeBron's teams in the past that he has done really well with, they've always had shooters helping him out. He's always had great shooters. He doesn't need a center. He doesn't need a big guy. He needs shooters around him. You know, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, we could go down the list of great shooters that have played with him, Ray Allen, and he needs those. Who on that team is a good shooter? And if you're expecting Russell Westbrook to come in there and be a good shooter, then you just haven't watched him in his entire fucking career. Right? So you're not expecting Russell to come in there and hit big-time shots. So where's the big issue? How do the Lakers fix the situation they're in? Simple. You trade one of your best assets you have. You leave LeBron alone. You leave Russ alone. You go out and get some of the best shooters you possibly can get. As simple as that. You surround Russ and LeBron with good shooters, and these guys are going to average insane stats. Because nobody's going to keep on clogging up the lane on Russ. Nobody's going to clog up the lane on LeBron. Listen, spread the fucking floor out with this team. Get rid of Anthony Davis. Trade his ass. He's not ready to play in Los Angeles anymore. And get what you can in good shooters. Whether that's going to Washington, D.C. and saying, hey, listen, Beal, we'll take Beal. You take whatever. No, they probably won't even do that. But you know who I can seriously consider would be a real solution here? Is the Bulls. They got DeRozan DeRozan. They got Caruso. They got a couple other good shooters on that team. They're overloaded on shooters. So guess what? Zach LaVine and Anthony Davis team up in Chicago. That's a hell of a team. You could build around that team. And then you have LeBron and Russ get the guys that they need, man. And that's what they need. They need shooters. And that's what Oklahoma City was really, really good at. When we were really good, we had shooters surrounding Russ.
Yeah, I think you'd be like, well, we'd rather trade Russ. Like, of course you'd rather trade Russ if you're a Lakers fan, but you're going to have to give something up to trade Russ. You need to get something back that makes you better, not like leaves you not as good. And obviously they think at this point with Russ, it's addition by subtraction, but you can't like be addition by subtraction and subtraction. Like you're sitting there giving away Russ and something else and expect that to make you better. It's not going to work. You got to find what you do have and how do you build around what your strengths are. And that is for the Lakers to figure out, because to me, it's a mess. And you're probably right with your solution, which seems to be like, let's just trade the only player that, really isn't available most of the games, and see if you can get a few guys that can really knock down shots for your team. Speaking of knocking down shots, bro. All right, so we got Kyrie getting to the basket and passing the ball to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons catches the ball. You see him right here?
Yeah, man.
He does not shoot. And Kyrie proceeds to yell. Let's see if I can get it on the audio here. Shoot it. Shoot it. He just keeps yelling at him. Why don't you shoot it? Durant hits a shot, but Kyrie can't get over it. What do you think, bro? Is this... Look, we know this became a problem last year, but now it's like, I think Kyrie yelling at him like that is a little demonstrative and it could become an issue. How do you feel about it?
This is another situation that I wish that the Oklahoma City Thunder were in a situation they can get Ben Simmons for, pennies on the dollar. I wish the Lakers would trade for Ben Simmons because the leadership of LeBron really could change his whole life. He just needs a friend right now, man. Like, everybody's turning on him. You could say Kyrie, like, oh yeah, he says like all the stuff about him in the locker room and KD the same thing as positive stuff, but everybody knows what's happening behind the scenes. And that's where I get frustrated. I mean, he airballed a layup the other day. Mental health. We watched it with a lot of players in the NBA. We watched Kevin Love struggle with it and be very open with how the mental health really messed with him. I feel awful for Ben Simmons. I wish that he could go to a place that he could stabilize his life and be no pressure. I don't know why Philadelphia. I get it. You wanted the player that you got, but why, for the love of God, would you go from one large market to the other large market? It doesn't make sense. Like, you think New York's going to be easier on him? No, man. New York.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
New York people are vicious when it comes to sports, man. Sad. I feel awful for him. I wish that he could find happiness and peace wherever that's at. I just wish the Thunder would step up because he's an all NBA player. He is. He's a defender. He is when he's playing amazing. I mean, what did he average? Like 16, 18 points a game, and one of the best defenders in the league when he was playing, and he was under 25, under 24.
Yeah, I feel like he was averaging like 25 a game. I don't remember how many points he was averaging.
I forget.
I'm just pulling out of my ass. But just based on how high I have him held in my head, like I don't feel like he ever was a player I thought was scoring less than 20. But we'll see. That's something I need to look up before I just talk. But I just give my reaction.
Give
on that before I know
Coach
anything.
England a couple years with him.
There you go. The miracle worker is here to save the day. All right, so last story, I mentioned a mystery box, and we're going to unwrap this, bro, because I have unconfirmed sources telling me something about. And it's all alleged, and it's all hypothetical. None of this is confirmed. Keep this in mind, but supposedly, with no names being mentioned, the Boston Celtics coach, who is not their coach right now, might have had an affair with a minority owner's wife.
Whoa.
That would account for potentially why it was a full year suspension the way that they did it. Because and supposedly he was in an open relationship with his girlfriend, his fiance. So who did the no-no? Was it him or maybe this owner's wife should be the one suspended from the team because she is the problem. Because I have also heard this may not be her first on-the-job affair.
Everyone needs a good cock teaser. That's all I got to say.
None of this is confirmed, but if you took some time to Google it, there are people who are reporting it. I'm not going to mention any of this stuff because it's all bogusness. It's all bogus because nobody's going to confirm it. But right now, if you want to know what the rumors are amongst our insiders, it's that, well, they this might be a Boston Celtics problem that isn't going away anytime soon.
Are they doing orgies? Are they just having like all the owners and the
maybe
owner
that's
wives?
why Brad Stevens was weeping, is because he found out he hadn't ever been invited to one of the in-office orgies.
Poor dude.
Yeah,
Poor
I
dude.
know.
That's the worst feeling when you get left out of something beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like, hey, we all decided to have an orgy, but the one condition was we couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Well,
Fuck
Danny
you.
Ainge was part of it too, I heard. Not you,
Look,
though.
Here's the thing about Mormons, right? They can have orgies, and there's nothing wrong because they're Mormons. One
as long
on five
as you
is
soak
normal
it, bro.
thing.
You can't create the friction. You just gotta get it in, and just can't move. The soaking is allowed,
No, dude, they're Mormons, dude.
but
They can do
soaking,
whatever they
bro.
want. You can do it, bro. You can
Check
do
it
raw.
out. Mormon soaking. It's a thing, bro. It is a thing.
Okay. Maybe we shouldn't have gone on to religion. We apologize if we have stepped on your toes. If this is your religion, we don't mean to. We are former religious people ourselves, believe it or not.
Religious.
We grew up in a religious house. So we don't mean to mock you. We are mocking ourselves.
If you guys know 15 kids and counting or 18 kids and counting, or the guy called Bill Gothard ATI, that would be what Mark and I are referring to. The cult is a cult. It doesn't matter what.
All right. We promised we wouldn't talk about our upbringing on this show, and we've crossed that line. So we apologize to everybody. But we think it's relevant because obviously Danny Ainge has moved on to Utah to get more free orgies. We know that. And everybody knows that. The NBA knows that. And he got out of Boston before they shut down the action. And now that it's shut down, he had no interest in there. So that's the real reason. He doesn't like rebuilding things. He likes orgies.
When in doubt, head west.
Go west, young man. All right. I don't got anything else to talk about. Bro, you got anything else to talk about?
Man, I'm sorry for all the sniffles, guys. I have this horrible fucking cold. I can't get rid of it. But that's probably why you've been seeing me stare into the bliss just for nothing, for reasons for unknown. Anyways, cold medicine is fun sometimes. I enjoy it. Throwing it back to you, man.
All right, man. That's it. We will be back Monday. We're pumped up, man. We're pumped up about this team. The Thunder, we got 2 wins in a row. So join us on Monday so we can recap the game because this is what we're about, man. The fuck do you want from us? We're watching a young
100%.
team rebuild, and we're watching the NBA get involved in all sorts of sexy scandals. It's the best of both worlds, man. Couldn't ask for any more. So come back on Monday, hear about what the Thunder did against Luka and his sexy self. We'll see you then.
Done.